All right, you guys. So if you've got a Vox AC series CC1 designation, or really like a lot of the modern Voxes that have their input jack situated on a little board, and you're tired of having them come back or hearing the complaints of your customers that the threads are stripping, or there's intermittent contact, or hey, the thing tipped over and it cracked, then you can switch to a high quality switchcraft type using the existing board. You don't have to bypass these diodes and caps here. You could have built-in strain relief, and using the right wire gauge, you could have a little bit of a suspension system set up for this thing in the event that it does come loose. It's not going to stress out your board here. So just another way to skin a cat. I don't know if you guys are, I don't know what else you guys are doing out there for solutions, but this is what's been working for me. I haven't had one comeback. I've been doing this for years. So hope this is useful. Bye-bye. And here she is, installed with all the clearance in the world that she needs. See that? Way better than stock. This is a legit panel mount input jack by Switchcraft. It's the industry standard. And you keep your input circuitry intact. All right, Tony. Let's get your EL84s tested, buddy. This is my freshly calibrated Syncor Mighty Mite 7, the last of the series, otherwise known as the designation TC162. Super handy little device. Doesn't do mutual conductance, but gives you a very, very nice shorts emission and grid leakage testing. And its short testing is among the best in the industry. So, all right, let's get her set up. So we have 1, 6, and 8 that we need to disconnect. Here's your pins. All right, 6 volts on the filaments. We need to be at C on your load, and setup would be number 5. Awesome. So we'll get her warming up. Let's monitor that shorts light and see how we're doing. Now it's normal to have a little flash there in between the switch positions, so don't mind that. But see that? That's normal. But we're looking for a persistent light. Awesome. Back to 5 you go. Let's check out emission. Now for emission, we're looking at the top band here, and we want to make sure that she goes over to the green zone. She doesn't seem too happy. There we go. Pardon me. My mistake. So, nice strong output from the cathode. Let's see what grid leakage looks like. Now we shift to the lower band. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell us if any of the elements inside of your tube have any sort of leaking of current. So far so good. I'm going to do a quick life test. The needle shouldn't move. What it's going to do is it's going to cause a reduction in the heater voltage. We're going to see if the tube picks up the slack or not. So a little bit of deflection there. She's not really recovering. Okay. There we go. She's looking pretty good. This is not going to tell us. Let's get the other tube. Nice and toasty. Let's get the other tube in there and see how she's going to pan out. Now, this is not going to tell us if the thing is noisy. or if it's even causing issues when inside the actual circuit. The amp itself is actually the best tube tester, but this gives us a little bit of an indication going in. It helps us see around a corner on potential issues coming up. Let's get her warmed up here. All right, and yeah, the old blue towel. I use this old towel to protect my bench top when I'm not using a chassis stand. Doesn't look professional though, does it? Not too sexy in the pics. So she's getting nice and warm. Let's check out some shorts. Again, we'll look for any persistent illumination of that indicator light there. Let's bring her down closer. That's normal in between switch positions. And some tubes, by default, glow on the heater to cathode setting because you have a directly heated tube where the heater and cathode are in contact, pretty much. So, okay, back to 2 you go. Let's check emission. Hopefully she bounces off the side. That's awesome. Nice and strong. Nice. Let's check grid leakage. Again, the left-hand side we want on the lower band, and about equal with the other. Awesome. Let's see if she's going to move. Sometimes they migrate a bit. Let's hit the live test. A little bit of deflection. Kind of weak. You can tell these tubes have been run pretty hard. Just looking at the silk screening, that's barely clinging on for dear life. These are EH tubes, but you'd never know unless you're holding them at a very steep angle. So either someone's aggressively cleaned these, or they've been cooking for a while. And if you kind of have a look internally, you can see a little bit of junk. So maybe not a ton of life left, but let's see how she performs in the circuit, and then we can go ahead and test out our modifications and repairs. And in some cases, looking over the prior tech's work, we've had to go through and repair some things, namely some solder joints here, and then, you know, routing the wiring a little nicer. Have your screen grid resistors there. We've modified your slope resistor for your tone stack and some other things there. We've created a new switchcraft input jack off of the board, which is a thing of beauty. No more strain. All the strain is going to be passed, if it exists at all, is going to be passed right to those little 22 gauge bus wires. We have them bent in such a way that if this jack does somehow loosen up, then the torque will be transferred directly to those instead of to the circuit board. Very nice. And then also, I think I mentioned that I had to completely remove all the solder here because there were some cracked and starved joints there in your output board. So running your amp while having a failure of your output jacks is a sure recipe to destroy your output transformer. So just a bad thing in general. So let's get her fired up and then we'll report back. Bye-bye.